What's going on, guys? Primal Sabbath here. I've gotten some questions, I guess people wondering like how I lit up my detolf displays, mostly for my Beast Tour stuff. As you can see here, that isn't an option for me right now. So like kind of the only light I have is in there, and of course from the other case. But I just wanted to show like more or less what the before was like, even with, and I mean I got the like those. That's the stasis lock, queen stasis lock, princess stasis lock. I can't remember what we called it, but that's I display that proudly up there. But I'm also going to take some foil to that window because there's a window actually behind all this, like on top of the sheet. But I put I kind of foiled that up too, just to minimize any and all outside traces of light. But essentially, we're gonna go from kind of looking like this to, let's go over here to that. So that's what we're gonna shoot for. I know that's what a lot of people are kind of used to. With this, you can do like a lot of cool stuff. Like if you want it kind of down to, I think that's 25. And you can even, I think you can even bring it down lower, or you can hit it at 50, you can hit it at 100, you can do whatever. So there's a lot you can do for it. So, and then like eventually I'm going to work on a video for how I'm going to do like the tops up here. I obviously these boxes are going to move, but anyway, so that's what we're going to focus on, and I'm just going to kind of show like what all I did and kind of explain how I bought everything. And for stuff that I bought online, I'll do links and descriptions. So anyways, that's the intro. So I guess let's get to the pieces. All right, so here's kind of what I bought. As you can see, most of it was definitely bought from Amazon. It didn't all come like this. I just kind of kept it that way until I got everything. But this, I think, is 24 by 30, kind of like foam, like science project board stuff like that you do in, I guess in like elementary school, middle school, high school maybe. I don't know. I didn't do any of it, but you can see there's a by 30. I'm pretty sure it was 24 by 30. It could have been like 20 by 30. I don't know. It's just kind of like, I guess, that standard poster board size. And it's not, it's kind of like you can see it's kind of styrofoam material. But these are cut into half-inch segments running the long way of the board. And this is just what I use for like the brackets. But as you can see, I've taped them end to end like that. It doesn't, I mean, it really doesn't have to be perfect, just because of how I like utilize these in the case. Like as long as they just kind of line up, I guess two per case. So that's what you need for that. And just to kind of show, I guess, a little bit what I'm talking about is I use these as the channels to run them, from the top here all the way down. So once you kind of get them wedged in, you can see like this is where this one is taped. And if you want them to kind of get them more secure, you could even just wrap some tape around like at the top and the bottom. But basically, when I run the LEDs on them, it's going to start up here, and basically like there's going to be, just because it can't, like it's not going to be like a perfect length for how you have to cut them. It's going to kind of cut off at the bottom like that. I find that works pretty well, actually. Just for like a look in general for it. I'll fix that later. But yeah, and like I just use that for the channels. Now, if you want to, you can buy metal channels and spin, especially for a project like this. I mean, if you only have like 3 or 4 of these detolf cases, like I've got 12 of them, and it wasn't like financially viable. And honestly, just the way it kind of, you can even see here, just sort of runs with the frame. And after it closes up, it's not unsightly. Like it doesn't have to be, pretty and perfect and all that other stuff. And then as far as this, like this is kind of unsightly. Just kind of taping these wires up here like that. Some people will run them at the bottom and stuff like that, but that's where I have my wires coming out there. Some people will drill holes. I wasn't going to do any of that. You could run the wires back through the holes in the back there, if that's you. If you want to run them kind of more up top across, again, and just running them along the ground it just worked better for me, because all of my power is coming in on that bottom shelf where the United Primal is. So that, again, that's just something that that worked for me. So I'll fix that later. So that's what I use essentially as my channels. And the LEDs, like, they have like a little adhesive, and these are just spares. I've already got the whatever 2, 4, 6, 8, 12 of these that I need. So that's, you know, it's neither here nor there. But as far as what you need, a lot of this stuff isn't really doesn't really have like any brand packaging on it. But again, I got this from Amazon. And the reason I have this on top of the other one that I have is, like, you would have to, like, if you're going to have them running on 2 different power supplies, what's cool is you can use both of these with one controller. So I'm going to program this one for the controller that I already have using, and I just have a separate controller, you know, just, you know, something that works out. And then these, I think these are my little extenders. Let's see. Yeah, male to female. So I think these come like 2 to a bag. So there's 2, 4, and 6. That's what I'm going to run from, you know, each case to the power supply. While we're on the subject of the power supply, here it is. I think, let's see, it's a 12 volt obviously, but I can't remember. Like, I did all the math that I needed to. Okay, there we go. 10,000 milliamps. That's the one that I got to run 6 detolfs and a kallax. The kallax was kind of just an afterthought, just because I had some leftover LEDs from that first time. And then a splitter, which is very important. And this is all that weird 2.5 inch to whatever, just kind of your standard, I guess. Like, you'll find a lot of these like as a standard size for the video, like setting up video cameras and stuff. And finally, the LEDs. Now, this is where I'm going to run into some problems. On this one, I'll just dump all this stuff out. The original LEDs that I got came in the big boxes like this, and they came with, let's open this up, they all came with one of these, which had a couple of these little connector pieces, and you know, just kind of like a spare deal. But like, there's also, I mean, there's one kind of like hardwired in, but all of these don't have, these little ones, they don't have this extra thing. But I'm gonna have to kind of cut and do some other wires and things like that. And this is just, I use the daylight, wherever it's at, daylight white. I think it's on the back maybe. Yeah, DW daylight white. So there's that. And these are actually the kind of smaller ones. Let me see. I can't remember what size they are. Again, like, I'll go dig links out for all the stuff that I bought off of Amazon. But anyways, it's on a smaller spool, and again, it kind of already has this piece right here sort of wired into it. But you see, it's got these wires running kind of on the outside here, just so I can kind of replicate what I had going on over there. I do plan on cutting this loose and still using this, but getting these wires as like a little bit of extra movement. But what's really cool about these is there's little, you know, you can see that's where you're supposed to cut. And these aren't the waterproof. Waterproof is another one of those deals where it's a little difficult to deal with. But actually, I don't think that's all I got. Matter of fact, it was also some of these. So these are, you know, these kind of plug in. There's, you know, plus and minus, positive, negative, etc., that you slide onto the LED pieces. Like, you can see where you cut. There are little positive and negative signs, so that way you know, like, kind of how to orient yourself and stuff like that. And the back sides of this is, you know, kind of that 3M adhesive sort of tape. So wherever you cut, you peel this adhesive away, this piece right here for the adhesiveness. They're not perfect, and just to show, like, as an example, this one's actually staying not too bad, you know, if we can get it to focus. But, you know, and I've kind of left it here just in case I wanted to use this to run the lights that I'm gonna have to build a bracket to build the lights to run all the way up here and stuff. But like you can see here, I got some just some packing tape holding that up. Again, I didn't do the kallax 2 super clean. There's just wires just hanging around and all that. It's one of those deals like I may clean it up, whatever. And I just went straight wire into these little extra connector pieces. So I think whenever I do the kallax, I'm probably gonna have to get some of those connector pieces. But like you can see, they just didn't, despite like my best efforts of even wiping all the dust and stuff like that off of this case. Well, it doesn't work. I still kind of had to kind of resort to using some of that packing tape. It's fine. Like, I mean, it's fine for me. You could probably get like a little bracket piece or something to help hold that stuff up. It's, for me, it's just neither here nor there. But those are pretty crucial. And if you're gonna be using these to run and kind of splice some wires into, it's a pain without soldering. So if you're going to use these, you better be kind of decent with soldering. But that's why I really like these. I can just snip these and then take some more, like, I just use speaker wire, to tell you the truth, and kind of run that length in between, like from the top. But another thing is I'm thinking of just instead of these unsightly wires up here, doing a strip across the top too, like I have on the kallax. I didn't want to be permanent for what, I didn't want to run strips on the glass shelves or anything like that. I like this kind of, this either side sort of look, as you can see. There, I like them reflecting kind of back this way. I don't know, it just kind of helps to light everything up a little bit better. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get some of these LEDs put on some of these longer bracket pieces, which you can see there's the tape, makes it a little floppy, but once you do that, it kind of helps sort of strengthen it, because it's all connected adhesively. So we'll do that, and I'll kind of show, I guess, the end result there, and we'll do a little bit of power testing. So all right, so this seemed to have been like the best spot I could kind of pick to show this out. So this is basically all we're working with. You're gonna need, well, it's not everything we're working with. There's these. Stovetop is optional. It's just, again, just the better place I could find to do all this. So we're gonna take one of these and just kind of right off the bat cut it in half, save it for later. Set this off the side. We got our little crimps and stuff like that. I kind of pre-measured all of these. This is the speaker wire that I use, which it's not like your traditional black and red. It's got like copper and silver, so I use the silver for the negative and the copper for the positive. And then these are going to be your best friend for sure. And this, well, I'll get into why I have the X-Acto knife here later. But so basically, we're going to find where that little cut is right there. And you can see there's a little, well, you probably can. I don't think it's picking up. Come on, there we go. All right, so you see the little kind of copper circles right there. Those are basically the contact points for the little connector pieces that I cut up just a minute ago. But anyways, we're gonna chop that one up. Now, because this is the piece we're gonna use, I'm gonna cut there. Well, let's get it right there. And then we're going to pull that off. We're going to set that off to the side. And then we're going to unravel this whole thing, because this is what I'm really wanting to get to, is where this part's connected. Which seems kind of silly, because like it's more or less just to get this extra added length right here for getting it tucked up under the bottom of the detolf. And I'm going to use some crimps to crimp these two together like that. So that's basically what we're going for. So I'm going to get this unraveled, and then I'll kind of show you guys what I do from there. Alright, so now that I got it unraveled, I'm going to kind of split this up just a little bit, and then we're going to take these, and it just so happens I can use the one at the very top here. I think it's either this one or it's the actual connecting piece that's kind of a pain to take off, but alright, that came off easy, and, oop, you can't even see that, and that came off easy. So there we got that. Now what I like to do before I really go ahead and do like anything else is, here's one of our kind of channels, so to speak. So I kind of line this up at the end, and I'm gonna, before, you know, I take the kind of backing thing off of this to get it down, is I'm gonna run it along this whole deal and find where I need to cut, and I'm gonna get it cut, and I'm gonna kind of show you like what it looks like from there. So there we go. And just real quick, just want to kind of show like this is kind of where I decided to stop it, and where the wire piece kind of goes down. Man, I know you can't see any of this on camera. It's difficult to do with multiple hands, but the wire piece itself is going to kind of come down and hang down a little bit. It's not focusing, but I mean, you kind of get the point. So that's more or less what I'm shooting for there. So now that I kind of got this measured up, we're going to go ahead and take this, and I like to go ahead and just split these up. Just makes them easier to work with later. So there's that. Now we're going to, this might not even be the right one, truth be told. So we're going to open this up. A little clip right here. If I can get it open. And let's see. Okay, yep, this isn't the right one. So we're going to grab this one, which I'll separate the wires on here shortly, but you can see that you know, you got your negative and your positive, and you also got, there's some little plus and minuses. There you go, you can see that. So you'll want to line it up with this here for what the plus and minus is, and then come back here and just peel this little backing away. Again, it's probably not going to be on camera, but there we go. Just kind of peel it away, get it started, and then you will slide that in to there, and make sure that the pressure point is on those little kind of copper-looking contacts. Close that up, and you'll more or less be good to go. So what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of line it up. I'm not going to make it perfect, but I'm going to get it to where it's about like that, and then kind of get it started. And then we're just going to pull this down, kind of like in sections at a time. Try to keep it a little center. It won't stay perfectly centered. You're going to kind of have to, I mean, you can take your time with it and probably get it perfectly centered, but it'll go from, you know, like a left to right sort of thing. So we're going to do that. We're going to go all the way down until we get to the bottom, which, of course, I'm going to do off camera. That's all the boring stuff. All right, so you can see more or less now that, and like this is going to be the bottom. So nothing to really worry about here for the moment, but we got the LEDs running all the way up to where it's going to be, you know, right here, kind of at the top. And again, it's not perfect, and you can see there's you know, this is still kind of bending and bowing and stuff like that. This, like, it's really of no concern. Like, once it gets into the case, it'll stay up on its own, just the way it kind of runs in with the frame. So there's that. Now you're going to take your leftover here, and you're going to measure out again. You're going to basically, you don't want to, what I do is I start at the top with where I cut off last, which this stuff doesn't want to autofocus for whatever reason. And then I'll measure it all the way till, like, basically, like, you don't want to overshoot it, so it'll be just like right under. And I mean, there's kind of some rhyme and some reason for that, but at that point, it's really just whatever you want to do. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to measure it and cut it, and then I'll kind of come back and explain what we do after that. Real quick, this is kind of what I was talking about. So you can see, you know, this is where you would make the cut, but it would kind of, I mean, it would cover the whole thing, and like that's not bad either, but this is where we're going to end up cutting it. And it's just to kind of sort of keep things evened out for the most part. That's just where I've always done it. I've never wanted to like overshoot it and then have it kind of have to wrap around like that. And some of the old, like, I think the older strips that I was just using, I think they were in kind of like different areas. But Anyway, so this is where I'm gonna cut. So yeah, gonna do that real quick. Now again, before you decide to kind of just start going all willy-nilly, you want to make sure, so okay, this is the other side of that little connector harness thing that we did. So okay, you can see like the plus and the minus here on the LED strip is going to line up with the plus and the minus here, so you know you got the right side. And like again, you'll start with this being at the top, and then just doing the same thing with what we did over here for the one that's going to be the one that's connected to the power. So let me go ahead and get that onto this one, then we'll get into the fun stuff. Alright, so now the only reason I have the X-Acto blade here, and you don't have to do this, right? Like you could have started from the other end essentially. Like I just to give myself some more kind of room to hide some of these wires. This is why I did this, but you'll ever so carefully and ever so slowly kind of start to cut downwards with that, just so you can get in here and split this down. There we go. And then I kind of pull the excess out, and then I'll just take the X-Acto blade and there we go. Toss that. We'll clean all this shit up later. And then cut that. Now these are the ones that whenever I go to strip them, I kind of have to put in a little extra work. It's just they're just like ever so slightly smaller than the others, but let's see. Let's get them about right there. And yeah, so it didn't pull it all the way, but you know, if you're half decent with stripping some wires, like you should know what you're doing. So shouldn't be any problem getting some of the excess here off. There we go. All right, so there's that. You got that done. I'm gonna go ahead and off camera, I'm gonna split the both of these ends and kind of get some bare wires showing there, and I'm gonna make sure I have everything else kind of the tips kind of stripped on. So then we'll start crimping some stuff together. All right, I'm gonna attempt to show just this one, just so you kind of all have a half decent idea. So what I like to do is I like to kind of try to twist these up, get them a little tight, and then like I'll even kind of take them and just fold this down at the end. I mean, you know, you probably don't have to, but it just makes me feel better doing it. Just kind of, again, get it squeezed together, tightened up together, and then this is where it gets a little tricky. I'm going to try to get on camera, so you want to make sure that this feeds far enough down into, there's a little, you see a little metal hole in there, and you want to get well into it, which shouldn't be a problem. And then you don't like try to crimp closer to the middle, but not too close to the middle, because if you get too far on the outside, it's just going to break this sort of little plastic shell here. But you give it a good squeeze like that, and I mean it's nice and snug. But again, like if you get too close to the outside, like you're probably going to snap clean through that wire. I did that a couple of times earlier, just refamiliarizing myself with these crimps. So or I don't know, like I know it's not shrink tube. I don't know what the proper terminology for these old things are, but anyways, shove that one in, and then line it up and give it a squeeze. I saw where it just kind of cut off on me. I'm using the auto recording feature, but anyways, you give it that tight squeeze, and then oh god, let's see. All right, let's try to get this done on camera. Let's try to do this on camera, I guess. And we're gonna start at, oh man, all this hair and junk. We're gonna start at this end. So essentially, it's just matching up red and black. I mean, it's very, very straightforward. Just kind of color matching at this point. So the red is going to go into the red like that. And this is where you got to be handy with your hands. And then let's get that open. Don't want to crush any fingers, but give it a squeeze. Maybe come up a little bit more and give it another. Okay, yeah. So that was almost too far up. You can see if I would have kind of tightened up any more right there, it would have gone clean through. It would have snapped that wire. And I would have had some uneven wires, and nothing makes me like doing this stuff. Nothing makes you more mad than having one wire kind of pulled a little too tight compared to another. But you know, sometimes that's just how it is. You know, that's all you can do. So come back here, get it a little close to the center there, and just give it a good little tug, and you're good. So there you go, crimping 101, or you can solder it like a man. It's just too much just to get out and get all that stuff out and solder all this stuff and have to deal with all of it. So what I do is I like to kind of prepare myself for everything, since this is going to be the easiest one to go in. This particular one that's going to be where the power is fed. I'm going to go ahead and crimp the wire that's going to run across the top onto this, and then I'm going to put the other two crimps on the other one that's going to be kind of a pain to get into the case, but that's just how I do it. And I mean, obviously I'm going to clean up all this mess, right? Like, can't cook nothing up like that. But yeah, so let me go ahead and get that done, then we'll move this whole setup into the room, and I'll kind of show how I install them. It's the lazy way of installation, I guess, where you don't have to like take everything out of the case and remove the shelves and blah 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 blah, so you don't have to do all that. But alright, we'll be right back. Alright, so I'm gonna load in the easy one, the first one, on camera, and I'm gonna do the more difficult one off camera. But essentially what we're gonna do here, you gotta kind of play with these shelves a little bit first, and it should be relatively easy. Actually, I don't know if you guys can see this. I'll try to. As you can see, I've got the other 5 wired up. None of the wires are properly run yet, but come on. So you're going to want to make sure that the shelves are positioned all the way backwards, or as far back as they'll go, I guess I should say. Let's see. This box is not. And that's more or less the lazy way to do it. So, like, if they're not already pushed up against the back frame parts, just kind of like lift and rock. Fortunately, like, nothing fell over on any of these, so it really worked out. Now, let's see. We're going to take this. We're going to. There's some stuff sticking to it. Alright. We're going to go up here. So we're going to take this, we're going to feed this through, feed the wire kind of through the back of this this gray piece here, and then turn this sideways and just feed it through sideways like this. Again, like, if you want to, you can just take everything off and, move the shelving, remove the shelving, I should say. That's more your thing. It's definitely not more my thing. I'd rather just kind of do it this way. It's quicker just because I pack so much onto a shelf, as you guys probably well know by now. So, and there we go. Oh, something actually did fall over, but it was on the bottom. But yeah, so you can see it's kind of, facing that way. So I'm gonna get this other one in, and then I'm gonna crimp them together. Then we're gonna do like a quick power test, and everything should be good. So alright, so I went ahead and just crimped it and taped it up there. It's not super pretty, but it's also not absolutely terrible. But we got both in there, both all the way down. You can see that one kind of kicks out a little. I might just get a couple of zip ties. I think that's how I'm gonna do all of them actually. Just gonna zip tie them real tight. But matter of fact, let me get down here and see if I can't fix that a little. I might not be able to. It may just kind of stay a little kicked out. But while we're down here, let's go ahead and grab this, plug it in, and we're in business, Jack. So real quick, I got them all more or less done. None of the wires are run properly, but compared to where we were at the very beginning of this video, it's coming together nicely. The kallax I might not do on camera just because it's pretty self-explanatory of just putting the strips on the bottom of each shelf and just sort of running wires and crimping them accordingly. I mean, it's just super simple. I think the detolf portion was probably the more requested, more difficult one to sort of figure out. So, and I also don't know if I have enough wire to run the kallax, enough like spare wire, but you know, I'm sure I got some kicking around somewhere. But let me go ahead and get that set up, and you can see like I just have the power supply here, just sort of running everything all disgusting. I got all this junk in the middle of the floor too. But so yeah, let's get the kallax wired up, and then I'll get, you know, the power supply plugged in where it needs to be, and all that. And I guess I'll kind of do just some final notes, I guess, on it. But more or less, this is it. This is it's time consuming. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning right now, but I've also taken several breaks, so I'm sure like straight through it's still probably like a, I don't know, 3-4 hour job, but you know, it is what it is. So alright, let's get the kallax done. We'll wrap it up, show the whole room, and we'll be good to go. Alright, now that we got the kallax lit and everything run properly and accordingly, you can't see nothing now, but I kind of wanted to, let's see if we can do this, see if it'll catch it all. Boom. Oh, it didn't turn all of them on. Oh, okay, there we go. So something that's kind of weird with the remote is getting it all to come on at the same time. Then I gotta turn one off at one time. But anyways, so you do that, and then, which the remotes are also older. So like my old remote only had the power button, but this new one's got an off button. So it's like I gotta hit the power and hit the off, and then I hit the power at the same time, and they'll both kind of come on. So it's said to like anyone who may have epilepsy, watch out, but you hold the green light button until that happens, and then it's supposed to be able to get all of it. See, I just hit the off button twice, and then I hit the on button twice. I don't know, it's weird. It's so weird. What are you gonna do, right? As long as they both come on at the same time, like, I really don't care. So yeah, this is essentially how I do it. And there's all of that lit. So now the next, I guess, project is going to be building a frame over all of them, well, on both sides, I guess, and finding a home for some of these Bicon boxes. I'm going to be getting rid of that entertainment center because it's just empty, and all this junk, just trash, man. It's always a project in here. I feel like I'm never satisfied. It's crazy, but I'm definitely on the road to satisfaction, because now I have all of my cases lit up. And what's really cool is, like, let's get back to where we can see both of them. So the dimming features work on both. So let's get them down to that. Let's see. Lower them all the way down. Take them all the way back to 100. You want to do some of that? You can do some of that. Too bad they're not all doing the same. I mean, it's kind of, I don't really, that's not really my cup of tea anyways, but you know, what can you do? What can you do? So there's that. That's how I do them. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them down in the comment box. I believe I covered everything about as best as I could. So I guess if it's just any additional things I might have left out, but that's that's how I like the room. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.